Well, my biggest disappointment is that churches can't meet in a time of need. You know, this is really a great time for churches to be together, for people to get together on a Sunday or whenever, any day, and meet. And yet, if you do that, if you do it close, you're really giving this invisible enemy a very big advantage.
People of faith getting creative with worship as large section of the country ban meeting in groups, and as a handful of pastors defy orders and end up in jail. Let's bring in Tony Perkins, the Family Research Council president, to talk about this tonight. Faith in the age of the coronavirus. Tony, good to have you back with us. I want to play something from the sheriff down in Hillsborough County in Florida, where one pastor was arrested by holding services despite the warnings about getting together as groups. Here's what the sheriff said.
His reckless disregard for human life put hundreds of people in his congregation at risk, and thousands of residents who may interact with them this week in danger.
So, Tony, I know that you're involved down there in Louisiana with another church that's going through some of this. What's your best word of advice to pastors right now?
Well, my best word of advice to pastors is think outside the box, outside the four walls of the church, and be creative in how you minister. I mean, this is not a time to spread the virus. We want to spread the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and there are ways to do that. And many churches have become very creative in doing that. In fact, partnered with government. And I'm disappointed with what's happened here locally. I've met with the pastor at the request of the sheriff here, you know, having represented this area in office and been a pastor here, hoping we could resolve it. We haven't. But I will say this, I can't speak to the case in Florida, but the case here, the officials, including the governor, the sheriff, the chief of police, have handled it in a very reasonable manner here. They did not arrest him and put him in jail. They simply issued a summons. It's now in the hands of the district attorney.
This is such a tough time for people not being able to go to their houses of worship. In the Jewish faith calendar, the Christian faith calendar, some really important days are coming up that we like to be together and celebrate with family and with our congregations. So it's difficult. I want to show, though, a lot of people are doing their own ways to worship. A lot of hospitals and places, we're seeing videos and pictures of people getting together to pray there. We have some video of some people who showed up in a parking lot at a Georgia hospital just to pray for the people inside. I think we have a little bit of that. At the same time that we're seeing doctors and nurses gathering together, praying in their operating rooms, praying on the roof, wherever they could get a chance to pray. And this is a little bit from Georgia, where people say, we just want to show up outside and let you know we're praying for you.
It's happening in communities across the country. Churches actually taking prayer shifts in parking lots out in front of hospitals with their blinkers on, just to send the message that they're praying. And in fact, Pew just released a poll that shows that Americans are turning to prayer. And maybe the silver lining to this crisis is that when we come to the end of ourselves, then we look to God for hope. And 86% of Americans are praying each day. 55% of Americans say they're praying for the end of this coronavirus. And so maybe the social distancing has caused people to get a little closer to God.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, too. The Joshua Fund had a poll out that people who say they've become more interested in God or spiritual matters, 22% of those who said to themselves they're not Christians, self-identified, said they're more interested in spiritual things right now. Christians say they're 40% more interested. So there's certainly a lot of room, as you and I have talked about before, in times of crisis and great awakenings in the past. It's often our fear and anxiety that drives us to look to something more solid. And prayers, you know, whatever your faith tradition or no faith tradition is, they can only be a positive thing right now, especially for our medical workers on the front line. So, Tony, thanks for joining us. Good to see you.
All right, Shannon, good to be with you.